I'm Andrew Megill with the Masterwork Chorus in Morristown, New Jersey. Today we'll answer the question of why Handel lighted on the idea of Messiah for an oratorio topic in the 1740s, and who wrote the text. The idea to base an oratorio on the life of Christ seems to have come from Charles Jennens. Jennens came from a prosperous family in England and studied at Oxford. His degree there prepared him for a life of scholarship in areas such as textual analysis of Shakespeare and the Bible. He chose texts from the King James Version of the Bible, most of the Old Testament, although some from the New, especially Revelation, and wove them together to create the libretto of Messiah. He gave this to Handel and convinced him to set it as an oratorio. He divided these words up so that they could be set in the typical forms of the time, recitative, aria, chorus, and even suggested some instrumental moments. Although Messiah is about Jesus, Jennens chose the title Messiah rather than Christus, using the Hebrew word meaning the Anointed One. This shows his bias towards the Old Testament and towards prophecy. The libretto presents the theological view of Jennens. The important moments of this arc are the prophecy of the birth of Christ, the redemptive life of Christ, the rejection of his work by the world after its evangelization, and the final triumph of God in part 3. One last comment about the libretto is its title. Although we often call it the Messiah, Handel never used this construction, preferring, it seems, Messiah. The second question for today is, how was the libretto structured? Jennens wrote the libretto for Messiah in 3 parts, which was standard for oratorios of the day. Typically, part 1 of an oratorio in Handel's life is about an hour long, part 2 a little longer than an hour, and part 3 35 or 40 minutes. We may think of this as a long evening's entertainment, but in Handel's day, other pieces of music were interspersed between the acts, frequently organ concertos which Handel played himself. Part 1, sometimes called the Advent or Christmas portion today, tells of the prophecy and coming of Messiah for the redemptive work of mankind. Part 2 tells of the death of Christ, his resurrection and his ascension, the spreading of the gospel throughout the world, the rejection of this gospel by the powers of the world, and the ultimate triumph of God with the famous Hallelujah chorus. Part 3 ends the work gloriously with a hymn of thanksgiving for the overthrow of death and the final triumph of righteousness. It ends with the fantastic chorus, "Worthy is the Lamb." Next time we meet, we'll discuss another question about Messiah. How popular was it during its day? One of you has suggested the question, was Messiah the Jesus Christ superstar of the 1740s?